It's Isaiah Colbert, and I'm here to interview Carolina Ravassa, who you may have heard as Sombra in Overwatch, among other video games, to talk about her upcoming film, Morgan's Mask. Last year, around September, I actually ended up speaking with your fellow Overwatch castmate, and a woman I mistakenly thought you were getting engaged with, Anjali Bhimani, about her self-help book, I'm Fun-Sized. And she told me she made the book to sort of help teach fans how to be confident in themselves. So speaking with you today, I wanted to ask you, what motivated you to make Morgan's Mask?
It was a mix of things. I think, we had all this was like 9 or 10 months into the pandemic. And so there was a lot of sitting around and at home trying to make things happen. And a script came across my email, and I just connected to it in many ways because it reminded me of a lot of stories I'd heard from gamers at conventions. It connected personally to everything we were living, having to connect to people on Zoom and social media and all the difficulties we were dealing with. So I felt compelled to tell the story of a cosplayer and a gamer going through the pandemic and dealing with mental health issues, because I felt like it was very relatable and I wanted to have gamers see themselves in a film.
So I wanted to ask you, would you say that Morgan's Mask is an autobiographical kind of time capsule for the pandemic lockdown for you, or does its message sort of extend further than that?
I mean, I didn't write the script. It was the director, Trevor Rigby. So it's actually kind of part of his story, but I think we all connected to different parts of it. So I put a lot of me into Morgan, and I could connect easily because, I have a social media following, or I would talk to fans online during the pandemic. We all dealt with, trying to connect with family, but maybe also getting angry at them over FaceTime. I think there's just a lot of parallels separate to my life, and just, anybody can relate to them. So I would say a lot of me is in the film, but it wasn't my personal story through and through. But I do think a lot of the gamers that have seen it go, oh my God, this is hitting too close to home. Same with cosplayers, it's just, you all kind of go, I remember that time in the pandemic. Yep.
So what would you say was the most difficult part about getting the film from the Kickstarter to having it be a movie that people can see?
My gosh, all of it. Jokes, but sort of real. The Kickstarter was hard, even though I have a decent following. It was, trying to let fans know that this could be a story they'd relate to. So that was very stressful, because if you don't get funding, you can't make it happen. The shooting was my favorite part. I think that's what I love the most, is being on set. But post-production and getting it to distribution is really hard. We got it done.
So I noticed in the trailer, or I guess I couldn't help but notice in the trailer, one Troy Baker does make an appearance in the trailer. So I was wondering, what was it like, sort of like getting into contact with him, reaching out about the project? What was kind of his thoughts about it?
Yeah, well, I had met Troy at conventions before, and we have a lot of mutual friends in the gaming industry, obviously. So I wasn't reaching out of the blue. We had great conversations in the green room at cons. So I just gave him a call and I said, hey, I have this project and I think you'd do a great job as this character. Are you interested? And so we hopped on the phone and I gave him the rundown of what it was. And I think at that point too, he was dealing with the pandemic in his own ways. So I think we could all relate to something like this story. I think he was down because he also has heard a lot of gamer stories, and he understood that this could be an important story to share with Comic-Con goers and cosplayers, etc.
Speaking of gamer stories, I noticed in the trailer there's a brief snippet of you playing a bit of Overwatch. So I was wondering if there's something I'm sure a lot of players are doing during the pandemic as well, myself included. What other kind of Easter eggs should fans of your video game work keep an eye out for in Morgan's Mask?
Well, I didn't want to involve Sombra too much because I just felt like that was too meta, but there's art on the walls that, is going to be fun. We shot in my apartment, so anything you see there, I own. So all the books I own and any stuff that we put around, some of it is gamer related. There's a voice in there that we have not listed in the credits, and that would be, it's 2 lines, but I'd be curious if somebody goes, oh, I know who that is. That's a cool Easter egg. I'm trying to think what else. there's cosplay stuff that I was trying to make mention to certain things. So I hope fans enjoy that. Like, oh, she did this for 5 seconds, or we noticed that mask there. It's a Comic-Con filled story, or anything comic book related. I wish there had been more, but we did what we could with our budget.
Yeah, respect. And so definitely next thing I wanted to ask you is, so what makes 2023 the right time to sort of bring Morgan's Mask into the world?
Well, it makes it the right time because that's when we finished it. I guess, I don't know. Some people still think it's too close to the pandemic to watch a movie like that where it takes them back to dark times. But I think that it is a story of hope. So even though Morgan goes through some really tough stuff, she has to kind of reconnect with family and dig deep and find out who she really is, and forget all the social media noise and try to focus on what brings her joy, which is costume building, and so I want it to be inspiring in that sense. And the ending was a little bit more fantastical, and I wanted to keep it real, because it's not like we just go through this process and find ourselves and now everything's great and we have a job and we're making a ton of money and everything's perfect. It was like, no, she's building her life back slowly. And so the ending isn't like everything's in place. It's just the beginning of what it looks like to start putting it back together. And I thought that was important because I've been an artist since I was born, and I struggled a lot in New York City to pay bills. And even when you think something's going well, then you still got to keep hustling. So I wanted to remind artists and creators that that's kind of how it goes. You don't just hit it big and then you're set. You still have to take care of your mental health.